And we are live. It's Dr. J in the house with Evan Brand. Today, we're going to be talking about getting to the root cause of eczema and psoriasis, these pesky little autoimmune skin issues. We're going to dive into that topic today. Evan, my friend, how are we doing?
I'm doing really good. You and I are both
Great.
like bouncing clinic and podcast today, and we
hmm
hear this every day, all day. People that say, "Hey,
Yeah.
look, I'm 20 years old," or "Hey, I'm 40 years old, and I've got this skin condition, and I've been to the dermatologist, and they want to do steroids, and they want to put me on this medication, whether it's some sort of oral antibiotic or some other compound." And some of them try it, and they say, "Hey, I get a little bit better," but then when they get off of XYZ drug, they go backwards, and then they call us and they say, "Okay, I've relapsed. Dermatology can't fix me. What do we do?" First place we look, it's the gut. We know the gut skin axis is a big piece of this puzzle. And I would argue a lot of people are getting a little too carried away with the cool foods. The cool foods meaning sourdough. Okay, you got every sister and her sister on Instagram right now. Homemade sourdough starter. Is it delicious? Yes, I've had some. But do I think it could still be an issue? Yeah, I really do.
100%. Anything that impacts the immune system. So 80% of the immune cells in your body are in the gut, right? They're in the malt, the mucosal associated lymph tissue that's in the gut, the stomach, and then you have the gastric associated lymph tissue. So gastric is the stomach, and the mucosal associated, that's the small intestine. And so 80% of these lymphocytes are there. And so anything that stresses out the gut and foods, gluten is going to be a big stimulator. Why? Because gluten stimulates the toll-like receptor cells in the stomach. The toll-like receptors, they're the centurion guard. They sit there by those enterocytes, those tight junctions, and they are sensing bacteria, virus, food allergens. And when inflammation and stress hits those receptor sites, that's going to cause this protein called zonulin to increase, and that protein is going to make that enterocyte more permeable. The more permeable the enterocyte is, that exposes the immune system to other foods, other lipopolysaccharides, other mold toxins. Because remember, in your gut, in your mucosa, in your small intestine, right? That's actually still outside of your body, right? Food goes in, it's still outside of your body. Then it gets absorbed and then it goes into the bloodstream. Now it's in. So technically it's still out. Tight junctions open up. Now it's going in. And now the immune system is seeing it in an undigested state. And then it can overreact and start to create an immune response to those things.
Yeah, well said. And hopefully people understand that this is not a forever thing. We're not saying you can never have a piece of good, like organic, real sourdough bread. Like it's good. I've had some with some butter. And by the way, Kerrygold, which they do add sugar to it.
Mhm.
I know Kerrygold was controversial because they were feeding some grain in the off season or whatever. But FYI, Kerrygold makes a cinnamon butter. Whoa.
Oh,
Your
it
kids,
does? Oh,
dude,
that's amazing.
if your kids get a hold of that little stick of cinnamon butter, they
Ooh, I didn't
are
know that.
yeah, you're gonna have to, like, kick them out of the kitchen. You're gonna be like, "Y'all get out of here." They're gonna start scooping that thing with their fingernails and, like, shoving it straight in. So,
That's great.
it's like brown sugar, but whatever. In sparing doses, I think it's
Yeah.
delicious because it still
And
has
with
the Kerrygold
Kerrygold, it
butter.
it's still 97, 98% grass fed from what I've seen. It's a very small percent that's not fully grass fed. So
Yeah, so I love it,
gotta do your
and,
best.
it's a fun treat. Now, I think you can add things like butter and potentially a sourdough back in, but while you're trying to fix your skin, my best advice is meat and berries. I would go meat and berries for a
Mhm.
month, go lower histamine as well, and see how much better you feel because years ago when I was doing a bunch of avocados, I was doing tomatoes, I was doing pineapple, all these high histamine foods and spices, my skin wasn't the best, and my skin's not perfect, but it's better than it's been in decades. Like my entire 20s, my skin was not good. And I was still doing these quote healthy foods like nuts. I would do almonds, I would do pistachios, I would do pecans, but I feel that nuts may be even a trigger for skin. What's your opinion on like nuts and skin? I know you talk a lot about thyroid. And so for thyroid health, you're going to say, hey, go more AIP, which would exclude those nuts. But in the context of skin, what are you thinking?
It's a great question. So anytime we have a known autoimmune issue, which eczema has an autoimmune connection, so does psoriasis, we try to cut out the big autoimmune triggers just because they can impact the immune system. And we know conditions like eczema, for instance, has a I want to say it's a Th2 dominance, right? Or Th17 for psoriasis. So the immune system starts going out of whack. And so that can create problems. Also, we may see a histamine issue as well. We may see IgE or histamine issues. And so looking at keeping the histamines down may be necessary. And again, it just depends. When patients have a known autoimmune condition, I'm going to be more strict and rigid about the food changes because we try to unwind the immune response. So the immune system gets wound up and then it starts becoming more sensitive to everything. And when you have one autoimmune condition, there's like a 78% chance of polyglandular autoimmune syndrome. That means now there's a great chance, almost 80%, that you're going to have two or even three conditions. And so you have to take it very seriously when you have a known condition that you unwind it. So we got to be very careful with nightshades, very careful with gluten, but not just gluten, all grains. That means white rice, that means corn, that means oatmeal. And then we have to really kind of get that dialed in. We're going to also be very careful of sodium lauryl sulfate, also fragrances, formaldehyde. We're going to be using eczema safe detergents. We're going to be using wash soda instead. No Glade plug-in, no little trees in your car. We're going to have air filtration, no scents, no Glade plug-ins, no Febreze spray, right? So we got to cut out all the things that could be touching our skin from a water standpoint. That means a really good, clean, healthy water filter to filter out the chlorine. Chlorine's the big one there. We're going to be getting all of our scents and fragrances. We're going to be using wash soda or something that's eczema approved to have no allergens there. If we need some kind of a scent, we can use a gentle essential oil in a diffuser like a frankincense. And ideally avoid anything topical on your skin that's going to have something that can have the fragrance in there.
Yeah, well said. I still find a million people a day on the road with little trees in their car, and it's like,
Little
what
trees,
are
terrible.
you doing? What are you
Yeah, I
doing?
just I just changed the I got a new car. I changed the air filter in the car, and I
Good,
also did a 20 to 30 minute ozone session of it and
good,
let it
good,
kind of off
good.
gas to kind of clean it out. So people should be on top of that. And then there's some nice, I think Philips has one. There's a couple companies that have them that can plug into the 12 volt, and it's a little HEPA that sits in the back seat in the
Yeah,
gap there.
I had
So
the IQ Atom or Autumn. I don't know.
yeah,
ATEM is how they spelled
yes.
it. The only thing that was annoying though is it had a super high Bluetooth on it, like it would blast the car with it. But if it's in the trunk, it was fine. But now a lot of the new cars, the filters are so good on them that you almost
Mhm.
don't even need the standalone air purifier in the car anymore. Like I rarely smell fumes. And
Oh, and also, yeah, get a good filter like Hank's. I think it's Hank's is a good one. But make
are
sure
you
you get a
saying
because a lot of
Hanks? Are you saying Hanks like HANKS or what are you saying?
it's like HENGST.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I know people who have done the cheap, like I know like BMW OEM, they do the Hanks filters. People online, I've watched reviews where they've changed them up for other stuff and they've noticed odors and all kinds of crap. And plus the Hanks has really good like an activated charcoal in there. So
Yeah.
you don't want to go cheap on your filters. Make sure they're clean. Make sure you're choosing a top of the line brand. It's 5 minutes to go change them. Usually they're under the glove box or they're under the steering wheel. It's just like usually like one of those weird like hex screws. It takes 5 minutes to change them out. And then you can get a $20 or $30 ozone thing on Amazon, $30. Let it go for like 20 minutes or so. Let the air recirculate on it and then open it up afterwards. Ozone does jack me up. It does make me feel dizzy and out of it. So have a mask or just hold your breath, go in, make the adjustments, do it outside your car. But totally worth it. Cleans everything out really well.
Yeah, and why are we talking about cars and air filters and all of that in regards to a skin podcast? Well, because toxins in your car, whether that's mold or fragrances, that can affect your immune system overall. It can trigger the mast cells, which are going to release more histamine, which can further aggravate rashes or what appears to be rosacea. I think a lot of people, when it comes to skin, they're misdiagnosed as rosacea, and it's probably a histamine flushing. I was looking at old pictures the other day. I had a picture from way back when, like 2016, when I first got exposed to mold, and I had this kind of like patch of red on my cheek, and I'm now knowing that was a mold rash. That wasn't eczema. That wasn't psoriasis. That was nothing but just literal histamine. And back then, I was doing like avocados every single day. And so this is why I say we need to look at your gut. So we're going to get the oat, we're going to get a GI and see what's going on with the microbiome. We're going to get all the fragrances out. We're going to get all the topical compounds out, including a lot of the quote natural skincare brands. I'm still seeing them use a lot of preservatives, polysorbate, and even some parabens. So there are some quote green brands that still aren't clean enough. So go minimalist with your skincare. Like I just do the Dr. Bronner's, and I don't use any other essential oil type product, and I just do the unscented, the baby unscented one for soap.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I like the sulfur soap. That's been great. It's been around for 100 years. That's great. Some people it can be a little bit drying, and so if your skin is really dry already, that's where like a Vanacream Gentle Skin is great. And then for moisturizing, I like the emu oil. I love it. They use it on burn victims. So the people that have the most sensitive, inflamed skin possible, that's a third-degree burn, and it works great. They use that in major hospital burn units. If not, we'll use an eczema society approved. Um, Moisturizer like a Vanacream, like a Lipicar balm, something that's going to have ceramides in it, a very light amount of hyaluronic acid, but that builds back up that lipid barrier. The problem with a lot of these eczema people is their skin barrier is just beaten up, and because of that, it's going to be very raw and sensitive and can get dry and itchy. And so then you're scratching it, which then makes it more inflamed. So there's this vicious cycle. So you have to bring moisture to the skin. And some of the eczema society approved ones, they aren't the best, but I find a lot of the natural stuff that have a lot of different oils and things can sometimes trigger the immune response. And so you have to do different things to build up the skin barrier and then down the road heal it. But my general protocol is the sulfur soap and then adding in some kind of witch hazel based toner. I have my favorite ones. I'll link down below. And then usually the emu oil, or we go to an eczema society approved one. That's going to be very helpful. But in regards to foods, salicylates can be a big deal too. And again, patients with big skin issues, you got to be really, really strict out of the gate. Cut out salicylates, maybe histamine, full AIP. We may have to go deeper, right? It depends on your gut, depends on how chronic things are. I follow a lot of these eczema groups on Facebook, and it's really sad. Everyone is just looking for a magic potion to fix the issue. And I'm sorry, but that's not going to be the way to actually heal it in general.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I could bring up like a graphic for folks to see high salicylate foods. You guys can easily Google this and pull this up too for yourself and see. But there is okay, here we go. So like salicylates in fruits, for example, I believe blueberries are up there. Let me look.
Yes.
Yeah, so here we go. So very high. Let me try to make this one bigger here. Boom. Okay. So for example, in fruits, very high would be like apricot, blackberries, blueberries, boysenberries. So on the low side or negligible would be like banana and pear, which is interesting, right? Because then you've got the issue with FODMAPs, and then you've got the issue with higher histamine. So I don't want to overwhelm people with this, but I would just say this is why we do consults, because some of this we're fine tuning, because you may look at this and go, oh, Dr. J said go low salicylate, but bananas are high histamine. So what do I do? And a lot of these things, it's about, are you just overdoing them? I mean, if you're doing like a pound a day, you're doing like a multiple containers of blueberries, that could be too much for you. And I've had some clients say they have arthritic like pain if they do too many blueberries, for example. So this is all just like, it's not set in stone, and we don't want to overwhelm you. But let me show you some nuts and snacks. So like almonds, that would be considered high, whereas cashew would be considered low. Pecan would be considered low. So that's just a couple examples. How about beverages? Let's see what this one shows. Oh, it's so tiny. I can't even see it. It's like a low quality graphic. I apologize. Very high says tea. And then negligible says coffee, decaf coffee. Chamomile tea is low. So not the greatest image, but there you
Well,
go.
that's good. You can do the coffee at least. Let me
Yeah.
pull up a couple here that I have my own little graphic here. So big thing out of the gate. So some of the higher offending fruits here, let's go over that. So your berries, your strawberries, your raspberries, your blueberries, your blackberries. And again, when it comes to eczema and psoriasis, we really only have, and this is more for eczema, by the way. Psoriasis typically more autoimmune, but we'll do both. I want to get momentum with patients out of the gate. If this is chronic, we want to get momentum. And so we got to be strict. As we get improvements, things get better over time. We can start to cut things out, not be as strict. But if we can try to at least lower the salicylate load by 80%, that helps. So we have our berries, our cherries, our grapes, our raisins, our mandarins, our tangerine, our stone fruit, our pineapple, most dried fruits, vegetables, tomatoes. So a lot of these we cut out by cutting out nightshades, right?
Yeah.
On an
Yeah.
autoimmune diet. Some of their cucumbers, right? And then our herbs and spices, a lot of herbs and spices. And then our condiments, our teas, our wines, our honeys, and then of course our nuts, right? So a good chunk, I think, what happens on an autoimmune is you cut most of that out.
That's true.
So,
And this is why a lot of
you
people
know,
say they get skin improvements if they're going more carnivore too. So if they're doing carnivore with some veggies, like you said, you're cutting out a lot of that if you're slanting more autoimmune
correct.
anyway.
Yeah, when you go full autoimmune and or carnivore, because carnivore is autoimmune, right?
Mhm.
That you cut a lot of that down. But we have to also look at, mold in the home, because if we have a lot of mold, that could be jacking up the histamine. If we have a lot of scents and fragrances, that could be jacking stuff up. If we're bathing our clothes in all kinds of scents and fragrances and wearing colognes or perfumes that are nasty, so this is where, like, as a functional medicine doctor, like, we're trained to look and see all of this 360. As a patient, it gets like really overwhelming because there's a lot of things. And so when we work with patients, we're really understanding what your life looks like. We're doing an inventory audit of all the stressors you have. And then we're just trying to start with the most likely to the least and just try to trim from there.
Yeah, and so we went to an Airbnb and it was unscented laundry, but then they used dryer sheets. And so
Oh,
my
the
wife,
worst.
she's had to wash her pants. She came around me the other day with these pants on that she had wore at that house in that bed. And I was like, "You got to go wash those pants again." So the dryer sheets contaminated the whole suitcase, so the whole suitcase had to be off gassed. So this issue of like fragrance transfer is a big deal, and I'm amazed at so many people being so like nose blind to it. So I really encourage all of you listening, if you have not gone unscented, like for example, this house had unscented free and clear laundry, but then they have quote fresh scent dryer sheets. It's like, no, you just defeated the whole purpose of the unscented laundry. And so please, please, please clean that stuff up. Do not finish the bottle of Tide before you switch. Ditch it. Ditch it. It's just it's not worth it. And I wanted to show a couple labs, and then I got to jump off. But can you pull up this oat test real quick? Because you're talking about mold in the home and how this may manifest and create issues with the gut and the skin. And so if we're looking at an oat test, we can see a whole bunch of yeast and fungal metabolites. And you'll see this one here, number 6. Tartaric acid is high in this person, and that's sky high. I mean, we want less than 6.5. This person was an 84. So if you look like this on paper, you can absolutely have issues with not only chronic fatigue, mood, depression, sleep issues, but skin issues. I wouldn't be surprised.
100%. And when we look at mold, so a lot of these things, right? You just set it and forget it. They're lifestyle changes, meaning like you change the detergent, you get rid of all the stuff, you get a really good air filter. Like, it's just set it and forget it, and it's done. You live your life. With food, you got to make these changes and decisions every day. And then if we have gut issues, we have to be a little bit stricter out of the gate. We're going to have to maybe look at getting your enzymes and your acid and your bile dialed in. If it's chronic digestion issues, motility stuff like constipation or gas or diarrhea, we got to look at that. And then, of course, infections play a major role, right? A lot of these immune issues, they can be impacted by infections. And
Pull
so,
up
like
this
I
page
mentioned,
3 here. Pull up that
yeah,
page 3. Let's show people that, because when you're saying infections, we're like, what the heck does that mean? Is that like,
yeah,
I don't know, I got tetanus? No, this is stuff you're going to see on a stool test. Which for folks on the audio, you're missing it, but on the video here, you're looking at Prevotella, you're looking at strep and staph. So this is what he means when he says infections.
correct. And then these things can impact the immune system. It can impact the Th2 immune response. It can throw off the immune system. And so getting the infections eradicated can be helpful. And people want to look at these things in a reductionistic way. Well, like, what's the one thing? It's like, well, man, you may have infections. You may have food. You may have gut permeability. You may have low stomach acid and enzymes and bile. You may have a lot of environmental toxins. You may have mold. There could be 10 things on that list. And each time we peel one thing off, we're going to get 5 or 10% improvement per month. But if I go through our list, we make sure we address all the low hanging fruit. And as long as we're getting about 80% of the big stressors, your body has the capacity to heal. And
Yeah,
so we
we
just
we
have to
took my
get the
kids.
big barriers out of the way.
We took my kids, and well said. We took my kids to a pickleball lesson yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And so the lady, I don't know, you know how this works, man. You just like
Yep.
wind up in these conversations in front of these people, whether
Yeah,
God put you in front of these people or
sure.
whatever. This lady sitting there watching her kid play starts yapping to me about mold, and then gets into Lyme and Babesia, and then my wife, she's like, wow, she's like, you just did a consult with that lady. I'm like, no, not really. This is just like my everyday conversation. Cause
Totally.
the way you and I banter back and forth like this, I could see some person that's maybe not used to listening to stuff like this just go, okay, I'm just gonna throw my hands up. But for you and I, it's easy. And so I told her, I'm like, that wasn't really a consult for me. That's just my everyday conversation. So maybe that's heavy to the average listener, but that's just the way it works. It could be 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 variables. And this is why dermatology is likely not going to fix it. This is why just GI is not going to fix these issues. Unfortunately, it's a web. And I encourage people to embrace that web. And does it take a little more time for us to see everything? Yeah, sometimes. Like, it's not put the steroid on and 2 days later the skin's better. It's not a 2-day fix, but within a reasonable amount of time, you and I have cleared up thousands and thousands and thousands of skin issues.
Correct. And the mainstream medications that are typically used, for Eczema, sometimes they'll use corticosteroids, which can thin out the skin barrier. So you got to be careful with that. You have things like Elidel or Picro or tacrolimus, which are going to be a calcium urine inhibitor. And that does help reduce the T cell activation. It does decrease IL-2, interleukin 2, and other cytokines. And that can be helpful to modulate the immune response in the short term while you fix everything else. But if you're just suppressing the immune system overall, that's not good. And the other one is Eucrisa. That's a PDE4 inhibitor that blocks the phosphodiesterase 4 in the skin. It raises specific AMP, it down modulates inflammatory signaling, nuclear factor kappa beta, and it lowers all the cytokines. And they use that for kids that are younger, less than 3 for the Eucrisa, and the Elidel is older for adults. There is a cancer warning on that. If you use it and you smother your skin in it for years, there's a lymphoma warning on that. But again, if these medications are used, it's for a very short period of time while you're getting to the root cause. I tell patients, I'm not anti-medicine, I am pro-root cause. And if medicine is being used while you're getting to the root cause, and it's a simple stopgap to help push you in the right direction, I'm okay. Just make sure the root cause is being addressed.
Amen. Amen. Well, I got to run. My kids are coming in here. They're all over here staring at me. So,
Excellent.
like literally all right here.
Hey,
All right, girls. All right. So daddy's got to run.
Yeah, you have to put them on the screen. Make them famous, Evan.
All right. Not today. Not today.
No? Okay. I don't want to jump on?
We got to roll. We got to roll. All right, man. So I'm going to get out of here.
Man. All right, brother. Good chat with you, bro.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. And maybe Dr. J is going to finish riffing it out.
Yeah. Head over to evanbrand.com to reach out to Evan. Functional medicine consults worldwide. We'll also look at mold, lifestyle, all the things we talked about. And then myself, Dr. J, at justinhealth.com. We are here for you. We schedule worldwide if you want that support. You guys have an awesome day. Take care, y'all.
Thanks so much for being here.
All right. You too. Bye.